Yo, what's going on everyone? FreakyDude99 here, and today I'm back to give you my voidtitan build. Now, this is an endgame build I've been rocking for quite a while since I have unlocked Excalibur and have been using it to its full effectiveness. This pops bosses, it pops a bunch of adds, we're spawning major amounts of orbs, it does really well in Defiant Battlegrounds Legend difficulty, and I've even been using it for the Master Weekly missions and Master Nightfalls. This is a fantastic build to slap on whenever it's Void Surge time, and I'm sure you'll have a blast running it, so let's just get right into it. Starting off with the subclass, of course we're rocking Word of Dawn Super. Now of course this is always personal choice, but I find Word of Dawn is a lot better for being able to resurrect your teammates in a dangerous spot, as well as provide yourself with some crazy weapon damage when you're trying to burst down a boss. For the abilities, we're rocking Rally Barricade for that lower base cooldown. We're using Shield Throw so we don't have to do a wind up dash to do our Shield Bash. And then we're using Vortex Grenade for the crazy amounts of damage it applies. For the aspects, we're using Controlled Demolition, so anytime we hit a target with a Void ability or Volatile Explosion, it's going to make them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target of course causes them to explode, and this will grant us and nearby allies health whenever volatile targets explode. Controlled Demolition helps out a ton in providing us with survivability as well as our teammates. It's also a lot of fun just to see the Void Explosions go nuts across the battlefield. For the second aspect, we're using Offensive Bulwark, so whenever we have an Overshield or are inside a Ward of Dawn, our grenade charges significantly faster and we have increased melee range and damage, as well as our melee final blows extend the duration of our Overshield. This is really nice to have because with this build, we're always going to be having an overshield applied to us, which means we're getting that additional grenade charge back, and we're also getting that extra bonuses to our melee. It's really nice to have, and plus these two aspects give us 2 fragment slots each, so we have 4 fragments to choose from. We're using Echo of Starvation, so whenever we pick up a Void Breach or Orb of Power, we're going to be getting ourselves Devour. Devour gives us crazy amounts of damage reduction, as well as anytime we get a kill, we are getting full health and we are getting grenade energy back, as well as Devour just extends every time we get a kill. We're also using Echo of Cessation, so whenever we do a finisher, we're going to make them volatile. That's okay, but we're really looking at the defeating volatile targets creates Void Breaches. We are going to be spawning so many Void Breaches, and whenever we pick them up, we're going to be getting class ability back, and we're going to be getting Devour. And we have Echo of Undermining, so our Void Grenades weaken targets. This is really nice to have as the damage bonus helps out a lot. And then finally, we're using Echo of Exchange, so our melee final blows grant grenade energy. This synergizes beautifully with Excalibur to allow us to get our grenade back super quickly and just spam them across the battlefield. It is nuts. Moving on from the subclass and to the weapons, our main one is going to be none other than Excalibur. This is a fantastic weapon as whenever we guard while we have energy, we are going to be applying Overshield to us. Whenever we have Overshield with this weapon, we're going to be gaining additional melee damage, as well as anytime we get a kill with even just a little bit of Overshield, it's going to immediately fill it up to full. So with this weapon, we can pretty much have constant full Overshield and damage reduction. As well as with Echo of Exchange, whenever we're getting melee kills, it's going to be giving us grenade energy. We can get our grenade back super quickly and just toss them at bosses or clear out waves of adds. It is nuts. As well as Excalibur paired with Volatile Flow makes out for some crazy damage with the Volatile. And the artifact perk Medieval Champion, which of course overcharges glaives whenever the modifier is active and allows them to stun champions. This of course gives it a 25% damage buff whenever we are in endgame content. Now Excalibur is our main weapon, but for our primary we're going to need something with some range. So whenever we're dealing with overload champions, I like to rock a bow like Raconteur. If we're dealing with barrier champions, I like to rock a pulse rifle or a sidearm. I've been having a lot of fun with Michael's Revenge. And I've also been having a lot of fun with some old pulse rifles like Battle Scars. It with kinetic tremors is deadly. And then finally for our heavy weapon, I highly recommend using Regnant. It with Explosive Light and Volatile Flow active makes out for some crazy damage. Add on a weakened grenade and max stacks of Explosive Light and Weapons of Light, and you can literally burst down a ton of bosses on your own. It's a really good weapon to be rocking, but of course you can rock any heavy weapon, just make sure it's doing a good enough job for what you need. Moving on to the artifact and its perks. For the first column, we're using whatever we need to deal with champions. I like to rock anti-barrier pulse rifle, piercing sidearm, overload bow, and then if I need, I'll use overload auto SMG. Then I use authorized mods void and authorized mods grenades in the second column just to get those mods reduced in energy. For the third column, we're using shatter orbs because there's so many void shields and shields in general that anytime we're breaking them, we're spawning orbs of power and we're getting our super back super quickly. We're using Defiant Armory, so anytime we're using a weapon with one of these origin traits, they are getting an extra bonus to what they do. We're using Volatile Flow, so anytime we pick up an orb of power, we're getting volatile rounds for our Excalibur and our Regnant. Bricks from Beyond is fantastic to have as we're always killing enemies with void weapons, which means we're always getting heavy ammo. We're using Origin Hones, which overcharges weapons that have one of these origin traits. This is wonderful as this is a 25% damage bonus. So if I'm using Regnant and Raconteur, they are also being overcharged and receiving that damage buff. And finally, we're using Void Weapon Channeling, which gives us a Void Weapon buff anytime we defeat an enemy and have a Void ability charged. The more abilities charged we have, the more that damage buff will be. And of course, Medieval Champion, like I mentioned earlier, which gives our glaives a powerful explosive that stuns unstoppable champions, and it overcharges our glaives, which means Excalibur also receives a 25% damage bonus when in endgame content. Now that's going to do for the artifact. Moving on to the armor, we're going to be using the exotic helmet Precious Scars, which has the exotic perk Kintsugi. Final blows from weapons with the damage type matching our subclass energy creates a burst of healing around us. And after reviving or being revived, we gain an aura that provides overshields to us and nearby allies. This is fantastic as it provides a lot of utility to our teammates and to ourselves. We're always getting void weapon kills, which means we're always going to be getting little bursts of healing, and whenever we're reviving teammates, we're going to also be providing them and ourselves with overshields. It just blends together beautifully and it provides a lot of sustain for us, and it helps out with teammates and some blueberries. So if you're having trouble with a lot of new players or teammates that don't know what they're doing, this is a fantastic build as you can make sure they stay alive and you crush content in the same build. For the mods, we're going to be using Special Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Finder to make sure we always have ammo. We want to make sure we have Excalibur ammo, so that's why we're using Special Ammo Finder. We're also using Void Siphon, so whenever we're getting void kills, we're spawning orbs of power for our volatile flow. And then for the stats, we're focusing resilience and discipline with a little bit into strength and recovery. Resilience for that tier 10 damage resistance, discipline for throwing grenades as much as possible. Strength is okay. We're not going to be using our melee a whole lot because glaives override the melee, so that's why sometimes I'll recommend going into recovery, but that's only if you have enough mod energy. For the gauntlets, we're going to be using double bolstering detonation, so whenever we damage enemies with our grenade, we're going to be granting us class ability energy, and then whenever we're using our class ability, it's going to be providing further buffs that I'll talk about later. And then we're using firepower, so we're just spawning more orbs of power from all the grenades we're throwing. For the chest piece, we're using whatever resistance we need to apply for the content we're going into. So if there is a void threat and there's a lot of snipers, we're putting on a double void resistance with a sniper resistance. If there's a solar threat and there's a lot of melee damage, then of course we're putting on solar resistance with a melee damage resistance. Just do it for what you need. Of course, if you're going into raids or anything with a rally banner, throw on reserve mods and then rally and then switch back to your resistance to make sure you're getting the maximum effectiveness on that regnant. For the legs, we're going to be rocking double void weapon surge just so we have that extra damage on our Excalibur and our regnant. It really pumps out a lot of damage when everything stacks together, and you can ensure that you out damage both your teammates and provide enough damage that you don't need them. And we're also using recuperation, so all the orbs of power respawning, well, whenever we pick them up, we're getting a burst of healing. I've said before, it is a better than better already, because better already works in the way of it starts your recovery and your health regeneration. If you are being burned or damaged at all, better already stops because it works in the way of a recovery. So recuperation is a lot better because you're guaranteed to get a burst of healing, which can heal you a lot and save your life so much in endgame content. And finally, for our class ability, we're going to be using Double Bomber with Reaper. Double Bomber makes it so whenever we pop our class ability, we're going to be getting grenade energy back. And then Reaper ensures that whenever we're popping that class ability, we're not only getting grenade energy back, but our next weapon Final Blow is going to spawn an orb of power to feed into our loop even more. Now the main loop of this build is literally popping your barricade, throwing out your grenade and applying weaken, and then going in with Excalibur, getting a couple shots off, activating Overshield, and then just going in with the melee. You'll notice every kill you get, you're going to be getting a lot of grenade energy back whenever you have that Overshield, and you're just going to toss more and more grenades, pop your Ward of Dawn, get some healing going. You just have an absolute blast of a time applying volatile rounds to everything in sight and causing explosions everywhere, while also providing you and your teammates with massive amounts of healing and overshields. This is literally a fantastic build to take into any type of content, whether it be Master Nightfalls, Master Lost Sectors, or just freaking Master Raids. It's up to you, and if you see that Void Surge icon active, well, you better slap this build on and get going, because this will demolish anything. Now, of course, if you need a picture of the build, it is right here, and there's also a dim link in the description. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, and of course leave a comment if there's anything you think I can improve, or if you just have something to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I've been FreakyDude99. We'll see you in the next vid. Peace.